on this Wednesday of Holy Week, we come to Jesus' last public teaching in the book of Luke. At the end of Luke chapter 21, after Jesus has told of these terrible things that are going to come, the destruction of the temple, wars, persecution, plagues, and famines, even the destruction of the city of Jerusalem, he calls us to remember that he is going to return, that he is the source of our hope, and that we need to remember that each and every day. So let's read in Luke chapter 21, beginning in verse 34, where he says, "So watch yourselves, lest your hearts be weighed down with dissipation and drunkenness and cares of this life, and that day come upon you suddenly like a trap. For it will come upon all who dwell on the face of the whole earth. But stay awake at all times, praying that you may have strength to escape all these things that are going to take place, and to stand before the Son of Man." He says we're going to face difficulties in our own lives and in the world as a whole. He says we're going to face troubles, both personally in our families. We've got schedules that keep us so busy. They weigh us down. We'll have physical ailments or illnesses. We all have deadlines to keep. We all have family issues. As a world, we have wars that are constantly taking place. We have economic crises all the time. Everything seems to be on a downward spiral. Right now, we're seeing this pandemic that has taken the world by storm. We don't know which way to turn. We don't know who to trust. But today we're reminded that when all of this trouble hits, we can put our hope in Jesus. As he's talking of these terrible things that are coming, what he's pointing us to is that we can't put our hope in anything on this earth. The very temple that they were standing in as he was teaching was the symbol of their Jewish religion. He says our religion is not a building. He says we worship a God, not stones stacked upon one another. He's telling them that as they are in the middle of this great city, even this great city and the strong wall that's around it can be overcome. But he tells us that he will return. We look to Easter this week. It's a time of reflection. It's a time of reflection of our own lives, of asking ourselves where we are putting our trust, where we are putting our hope, and looking to the empty tomb. The empty tomb that says Jesus has conquered this world. He has conquered our enemy. He has conquered sin and death. And to put our hope in him because he is returning again one day. It will be a day of sadness for those who don't know him. But it will be a day of joy for those who stand before him and confess him as Lord and Savior. He gives us 3 warnings of things to watch for in our own lives. He tells us not to be weighed down with dissipation, with drunkenness, or the cares of this life. As we go through life, we're going to be tempted into indulgence, which is dissipation, to comfort and wealth, and the draw of pride and ego. He also says we're going to have those daily things that pop up as urgent and weigh us down. But he also calls us against drunkenness. And that's not just drugs and alcohol, but it's anything that we turn to other than Jesus when life gets difficult. Sometimes it's hobbies. Sometimes it's our work that we pour ourselves into. Sometimes it's distractions. But what he's calling us to is to keep watch. And so this week, I'd ask you to take a moment to reflect on your life. Where are you allowing yourself to be distracted from Jesus? Where are you trying to find hope other than in Jesus? Because he says one day all of that will fail. One day all of it will come apart. But Jesus is our only source of hope that lasts. If you don't have your hope in Jesus, I pray today that you would turn to him in trust and faith. And if you do, if you know Jesus as your Lord and Savior, would you rejoice in the joy that he is coming back victorious? The same Jesus who has conquered the grave is seated on his throne in heaven, and he is coming back for his final victory. We can take joy in that today. We can find our hope in that today. And I pray that you put your hope in Jesus. We thank you for listening today. We thank you for joining us this week as we've been walking towards Easter this Holy Week. I pray that you are blessed and that you have a great day.